What is up, guys? It is DMG here, and today I'm going to be doing an instructions video on the 4-1-4-1. Now, this formation I actually come up against a lot in FUT Champions. I come up against the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow and the 4-3-2-1 more often than anything else. But after that, it's honestly probably the 4-1-4-1, and after trying this out, it's actually a lot better than I thought. Me personally, I still would prefer like the 4-3-1-2, 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, and the 4-3-2-1 and those types of formations. But, I mean, if you need a wide formation, this is actually not bad. This is actually pretty decent. So pretty much I'm just going to be going over the instructions and the tactics for it. So for the defense, it's pretty much the same thing as what I always do. The two center backs are just on balance. They're on default settings. And then the left and right backs are on stay back while attacking, which is what we normally do. Now, in this wide formation, the left and right backs will actually stay back while attacking more often than any other formation, because I think the reason that I personally don't really like any left and right backs is because I use really narrow formations. So the 4-3-1-2, the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, the 4-3-2-1, those formations, when they're narrow, the left backs and right backs will still get forward more often than in wide formations because they will provide width. So in this formation, there's left and right mids that already provide width, so they don't really have to get forward that often. So they actually do sit back, and in this formation, I actually found myself enjoying pitch check and Wendell more often than in the 4-3-2-1. So in this formation, they're actually decent. They actually do stay back, and the defense for the most part is actually really solid. Like, just talking about the defenders. And for the next part, I'm actually going to do all these three positions together because they all kind of relate. The two center mids and then the center defensive mid. They all are basically kind of playing the same position because the defensive mid actually sits literally like right behind, like literally just like a yard or two behind the two center mids, which personally I'm not a huge fan of. I'd rather they just sit a few yards ahead of the center backs, but it is what it is. So for the defensive mid, I have them on stay back while attacking. For the center mid, I have them both on stay on the edge of the box for crosses, and then I have one of them on stay back while attacking. So in this format, or in these three positions, it's really important to find players that can kind of do everything, kind of like a like a Nainggolan or Marquisio or something like that, because they will all kind of rotate and get forward. So if you counter or something and Latza is behind, if this center mid, who is Latza, is kind of where the center backs are is just kind of defending, that means Goretzka and Sanchez will be getting forward, and then Latza will kind of take that center defensive mid spot. So they all, they all kind of rotate, they all just kind of go around, which honestly is really nice because I haven't really seen any other formation do that, where they kind of just rotate, where they don't take their take their teammate's spot, which is actually a good thing. So like I said, it's actually important to have players who can do everything. So in these roles, probably what would be a really good midfield would be like Nainggolan, Marquisio, and then that new informed João Mario, who I think is like a center attacking mid because he has like 70 defending. That would be a great midfield. That'd be a great central midfield to have because they can all kind of defend, they can all get forward, and then they can just keep rotating. So that'd be perfect. So the reason I have the two center mids on stay on the edge of the box for crosses because I don't want to get countered that hard, obviously. I do that for a lot of center mids. Now I have one of them on stay back while attacking because what I noticed is when I am getting forward, sometimes all of them will run forward, including the defensive mid. So all of them will be in the box. All of them will be kind of making runs through the middle. And then if you lose the ball, you're kind of screwed. So because you're just going to get counted because there's literally no midfield. There's no central midfield. Now that was only like 2 or 3 times a game I noticed, but that's still enough for you to get scored on. You will most likely concede. You could most likely concede a goal from one of those 3 or 4 counterattacks. So that's why I have one of them on stay back while attacking, along with the defensive mid on stay back while attacking. So then hopefully that doesn't happen as often, maybe like once, maybe twice a game instead of the typical 3 or 4 times a game. Then for the left and right mids, it's honestly just default for everything because I noticed that they were usually in the right position. They were riding width, they were getting forward. They were actually getting back fairly well too. So honestly, I didn't really find anything that they needed to do. Honestly, I didn't find anything different that they needed to do. So for left and right mid, it's pretty much just the default settings. Then for the striker, I have him on stay central getting behind. So the reason I have him on stay central is because he is literally the only attacker. There's no second striker, there's no center forward, there's no center attacking mid, there's no left and right wingers. There's like nothing else in the attack. He's literally like the only attacker. So he has to stay central, because if he goes out wide, if he goes left or right, there's going to be literally no one in that box. There's going to be literally no one in that central area in the attack. So you obviously don't want that, so you need him to stay central. Like, that's actually incredibly vital that he stays central. I also have him on get in behind, because for me personally, I want my striker and my only lead player, my only attacking player, to be actually leading the attack. I want him to be leading the attack. You know, I have him on get in behind because of that reason, but you know, you could probably have him on target man or false nine. If you trust your center mids or your left and right mids. If you trust them enough to actually put away shots as much or nearly as much as your striker, then you can probably get away with having them on target man and stay central. But, you know, I don't really trust Herman as much as Mbolo. I don't trust Latz or Sanchez as much as Mbolo in front of goal. So I'd rather have Mbolo on getting behind and leading the attack and being the first one in the attack. And also similar to the center mids and the central midfield for like certain types of players where you need them to kind of do everything, you also need a striker who can kind of do everything. Mbolo fits that perfectly. He's 6'1", he's pacey, he's strong, 4-star skills. He can literally do everything that you need him to, and so he fits that role perfectly. You know, compared to like a big guy who's like 6'4" or something, but is not that fast, versus a smaller guy who is pacey, I would prefer the pacey guy, because it just, if you have a bigger guy, it just kind of limits you. Because let's say if you have Vardy, he may not be winning headers, but you can still tell him to get in behind, or you can tell him to be a target man or a false nine. You can still tell him to do that. Whereas if you have, let's say, some really tall, let's say like Mandzukic maybe, or even someone who's slower than that, you can't really tell him to get in behind, because there's no way he's going to be getting past those center backs. There's no way that's going to happen. So you kind of have to put him on balanced or target man or false nine. So again, it is extremely important to have someone who is at least pacey, but I would really recommend someone who can do everything. Like Mbolo, he can win headers, he's pacey, he's strong, he has 4-star skills, he can do like literally anything. So that he fits the role perfectly. And then again, for the central midfield, you need players who can do everything. Get forward, get back, pass, attack, defend, pretty much everything. Now these are also the custom tactics. These are actually what I do for the majority of things, for the majority of formations. The only thing that's a little bit different is crossing. Actually, I'm going to put that to 50. Usually for crossing, I have it to like 30 or so, because in narrow formations, you don't really cross that much because there's not a lot of wingers. But in this formation, I found myself crossing more often than not, honestly, just because Mbolo, he's tall, he's a tall striker, but there's also wingers, so it allows me to cross more often. So I wouldn't say this is a crossing formation, but I did find myself crossing more often than not, like way more often than any narrow formation that I've ever had, which honestly makes sense because I have wingers in this formation. But you know, even if you don't cross, still have it around like the 45 or 50 mark, because you will most likely have the opportunity to cross. And while crossing might not actually, while you might not cross it as much as other people, if you have the opportunity to cross, you still do it. It's not like you just don't cross when there's someone wide open. So, you know, having the opportunity to cross, having it at 50, if someone sees that there's an opening for a cross to be made, and like a striker's there because, you know, he knows that if a cross comes into him, he can score, then you can do it. If you have it on 50, that allows you to do it. Whereas if you have it on 20 or 30, you can't really do that. So that's probably it for the instructions on the 4-1-4-1. If you guys have any questions on it, just let me know in the comments down below. But like I said, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been DMG. Peace. One more. Oh my god! Kushka. Yo, that was filthy.